I am not going to lie to you, it is become increasingly obvious that every single passing day in America, we live in hell.
I don't want to drive housing prices down. I want to drive housing prices up.
Hey, Squidward!
And for today's video, I would like to set a theme for everything, and the theme is richest country in the world. It's just really good context, and I promise you'll have more fun through the video if you keep that little broad topic in mind. Also, I have put on for the video a recent construction project in the US to see how far they get just throughout the whole recording of this. See what progress we can make in a good little hour recording. I don't know if you can see it from there, but the only movement right now is in this top corner. It looks like they have 2 people on this site. One of the things that really inspired this to come to my mind was the fact that, one, we never see construction projects in the US really going anywhere. They're very, very slow. They take forever. And then 2, I keep hearing amazing news about a bunch of Chinese infrastructure projects. This entire video isn't for me just to glaze high-speed rail and stuff that I'm genuinely jealous about. Also, in going through and comparing both Chinese infrastructure and American infrastructure and how they've built their things, I've come to a few conclusions. America can't build for shit. And when we do, it's not really for the people.
I will get into that.
I'd like to take the first section of this video to give context to how fast the US can build things versus how China builds things. To clarify, I have sources for all of this in the description, and these are the 4 topics that I want to compare timing builds on. And given these are our topics, I'm going to be talking about total project completion time, small houses, large houses, commercial properties, and large commercial properties. All of these stats assume a very standard house or a standard commercial property. Anything custom is going to add a year onto any estimate, but we're just going with regular stuff. So small houses in America take about 7 to 9 months. And in China, that is a very different story. Small houses in China could take less than a week.
I'm not shitting you.
That's me being conservative on that number. It usually takes them less than a week to build a full house. Big houses in America, usually multifamily homes and everything, usually take about a year, whereas in China, it takes them less than 2 months. Just a little bit of a big gap there, if you didn't notice. Now, the commercial properties are a little difficult because they vary so much, but the average commercial property in America takes about a year to a year and a half on average to develop. And in China, it takes them just a few months. It takes them multiple months, and it varies a little too much from what I've looked at to get super accurate results on what they have, but it takes them no longer than 4 months to really put together a commercial property. And then finally, we have the large commercial properties, which would be big skyscrapers or big projects. It takes them 2 to 5 years in the US on average to build them. For large commercial properties in China, it takes them about 4 months to a year, but that doesn't really compare to some of their fastest projects. They've put together a skyscraper in 19 days. Yeah, here's a time lapse of them doing it. It's insane. I would now like to remind you of the video's theme. Richest country in the world, by the way. But yet we can't build a house in under 6 months. Are we insane? Are we insane? Recent development. I do see a little guy here and another little guy here. Hard at work. Good. Good. I'm just happy there's movement on the thing. I really wasn't expecting anything. So obviously in my tiny little pea brain, I see these stats and I'm like, wow, China is shooting these buildings up. There's got to be some sort of downside. The biggest downside to this I found is that with this rapid building that China does to push these houses and commercial projects up, they have below average safety ratings. The details of which can include the material cost, what's been used in it, building practices, all that. However, with these safety problems, most of the things that I looked at were basically already being handled. Though because of this, there have been much stricter regulations on things like material usage and height for buildings and a huge focus on micro renovations. And I really like this thought process because it focuses on the idea that it's cheaper to maintain and upkeep and, as I said, renovate something than it is to have that thing fall into disrepair and have to replace it. You don't want to rebuild your skyscraper. You want to keep up with it and make sure it's good. To summarize this, China is amazing at building things in a very, very quick timeline. There are a few reasons for this, but the biggest 3 are these. All the land in China is state-owned, so that means when a local government needs to put a new building here or maybe build a park, they don't have to go through these years of zoning and trying to get around private property just to make it happen. And just to compare, in the US, the zoning alone usually takes about 3 to 12 months for very small projects, and it can take up to
3 years.
just to zone out before building the massive skyscraper or like office building that you want. The building style in China is very modular. Most of the assembly is done off-site, and then when it's ready, it's moved onto site and then just put in place to be built. So there's not like a ton of construction equipment sitting around for, I don't know, years, and everything is built when it's ready to be built. It's really cool. It's very much giving Lego vibes. And then finally, the last reason is they own the materials. Not only just the materials, the industries themselves. Steel, concrete, anything that you can think of that's used in these projects is basically state-owned, which means these state-sponsored projects and the local government-sponsored projects already have all the materials they need. They just move them to it. There's no like massive supply chain that they have to rely on to get things shipped in. And I would like to emphasize the fact that you don't have to worry about global supply chains is massive in this. You already have all the materials you could want to build the things that you want to build. It's really, really efficient. Quick little update. We got a few more figures here. Guy. Found them. We have 5 men working on this site right now. I think I'm just going to stamp this section with the right there. Just leave that hanging there. This section of the video, I really want to emphasize the massive projects that have been built, like mega projects that are being focused on constantly in China. Every time you see someone that's like on Instagram or anything that's visiting China, you'll see these big sweeping shots of their buildings or like their big elevation changes in the city where they have like the infrastructure is just gorgeous. I would like to go over a few of the projects being built in China and then also compare them to maybe comparable projects in America to see if there are any comparisons for how they're investing in their infrastructure versus what we might be doing. And the first one here is probably my favorite. It's called the Shenzhen Zhongshan Link.
Shenzhen Zhongshan Link. Shenzhen Zhongshan Link.
This is the $6 billion mega project that has connected 2 massive cities, Shenzhen and Zhongshan, together via an 8-lane bridge. It cuts directly through the bay that is between them. Oh, but Cody, that's just a cool little bridge. That's just a bridge. Anybody can build bridges.
Wrong.
Do you know why you're wrong? Because it goes into the fucking water. Oh no, I live in Shenzhen. I need to go all the way around this little, like, coastal area, and it's gonna take me about 2 to 3 hours. Oh, great heavens, how am I supposed to get to Zhongshan? Oh, looky here. A bridge. And then it dips into the water, and you can... Oh my gosh, it's so cool. I could glaze this thing forever. This thing looks so cool. Previously, any resident in Shenzhen would need to travel all the way across, all the way like up around the perimeter of the mainland, 2 to 3 hours just to get to Zhongshan. And this cool bridge, okay, bridge is not what I'm going to use here. This cool fucking road, it's still an understatement, but, and this cool fucking bridge basically reduces that 2 to 3 hour time to 20 to 30 minutes. Since it's been up, it now has over 100,000 vehicles traversing it every single day. Not only that, in the tunnels when you're down there, your GPS is still going to work. You still have cell reception. There's robots down there in the tunnel monitoring the traffic regularly. There's your GPS will work in the tunnel, which I thought was insane. Overall, this thing is like an engineering masterpiece as to how they even put this together. I will now digress from my love of bridges. The next one is called the Pinglu Canal. This canal is a mega project that is set to open in September of this year, and it connects the inland Zhejiang River to the Gulf of Tonkin. Now, immediately, the first thing I did when I was looking at this was I compared it to the only canal that I can really think of off the top of my head, which is the Panama Canal. For reference, the elevation difference in the Panama Canal is about 85 feet or 26 meters. This canal in China is gonna do triple that. The elevation difference from the lowest point of this canal to the highest point is going to be 26 meters. That's over
200 feet.
Obviously, as canals do, their main function, of course, is to allow ships to pass and increase trade with China and Southeast Asia. Just looking at this picture with how the US builds things, I don't think we'd be able to. I straight up don't believe we'd be able to. This has only been in construction for about 4 years. 4 years! And they have all of this built and almost ready to go, literally end of, like, September this year. Richest country in the world, by the way. I don't see mega projects like this happening. That's weird. I'd like to make 2 quick comments. These guys don't seem to be doing much, but these guys, they're trucking. They are hard at work. The last one that I want to talk about in this section is called the CITIC Tower. This is the 5th largest tower in all of China, and it is the largest one in Beijing. It wasn't designed, as you might think, to be just a very strict office building that houses multiple businesses and it goes up and stuff. No. It was designed to be like a vertical city, essentially. It has apartment living, commercial spaces, and at the very ground floor, right beneath that, it integrates directly with the city's complete transportation network, which includes those cool trains. I could get into it, but I won't. CITIC is like a big state-owned corporation that is like one of China's biggest. But yeah, it's cool to look at a building and know that it doesn't hate me back. And look, this building has this sick curve to it as well. This shot specifically is so freaking cool. I just think it's really, really neat. Obviously, these are a few cherry-picked examples, but these are some of the biggest projects that I've seen that are just really cool. Like, you wouldn't see America build a skyscraper building like that for a city-like purpose. It would never be done like that. It would be privately owned. It would be for a very, very strict purpose of business. That's it. And I would like to challenge you a little bit. What's one thing in America that's being built that's comparable to these projects? Seriously, one thing off the top of your dome. Because I've been looking and I've only found two that even remotely come close, and I still don't think they're great examples. I would like to really quick preface the following two projects with a bit of the criteria I used to pick them out. One of them was their time to complete the construction project, and the other being their overall cost and then the benefit to the people. There were a few other projects that came up that didn't meet the criteria of being built in a reasonable amount of time or were way too expensive to be compared to like these Chinese examples, so they got ruled out completely. The first one that I found is this TSMC Arizona Gigafactory that makes semiconductors. This is a $165
billion project
that has been bringing production of like semiconductor and chip manufacturing onto American soil, which hence makes us less reliant on like foreign markets and chip manufacturers overseas and stuff. Yay! The problem with it is, while it is comparable to a few of the projects I've mentioned in China, who's this for? I know it's not one of the strongest points in the world, but personally, this is not something that is built directly for the people. Unlike how like the Link would be. It's strictly to defend against like raw, fearful collapse of our economy. My thought process there leads me to think, oh, in order to not have our economy literally blow up, we desperately need to build this factory here. It's more like super reactive and defensive way of building a mega project instead of proactively being like, okay, how can this help people? Another point I'd like to float by is that this doesn't actually provide benefit on an interactable level. It's not like the worst project in the world to have built, especially if it's going to lower costs for consumers, but it's incomparable to the interactable and daily benefit that the Shenzhen Link or like high-speed rail would provide to people. Also, these weren't built out of desperate collapsing fear. My main conclusion on this one is that China builds to lift people up and builds proactively, thinking ahead for its citizens, and America builds for its citizens when absolutely necessary. Richest country in the world, by the way. The other project that I really wanted to discuss that could be comparable to Chinese infrastructure projects that is here in America is the Sunzia Wind Project. In comparison to the previous example of the chip factory, this is a fully public infrastructure project, and it aims to provide enough power for over 1 million homes annually. There are 916 mega turbines that are all spinning throughout Arizona and California that create wind power and clean energy to power this. The reason I picked this one is because obviously the cost and the time of construction were well within what I had initially compared to the Chinese projects, but also this is very directly benefiting people. This isn't one that is built out of fear for like global political reasons and all that. This is being built here to provide clean, renewable energy that is going to go on for people in the future. This is a great project. It's a very clean and forward-thinking project. People will not only directly see the cost benefit of having much more power supply, but it's a way to continue cleaning up the American environment and the way we produce power. So while we do have projects here in America, one, there are very, very few, and two, they're oftentimes strictly for business or defensive purposes. Reactionary instead of thinking for your people or all of this. Also, it should not take anywhere over 6 months to build a home here. That is baffling to me. But let's check on how our boys are doing. I shit you not, since the last time I checked was 20 minutes ago, these guys haven't moved. Also, I really wanted to come see any visual change, but I don't think the crane has moved either. But that's enough babbling and glazing China. I really wanted to create a video that put together all my thoughts and research about how fast China is at building things and why. because I've seen a lot of other people just blatantly glazing them with no real information or depth or comparison. And it was really cool to put it all together. Also, if you are here at the video, hello, you should subscribe and like the video. If you aren't, but they'll never know. Anyways, that is about it. I really hope you enjoyed the video. It was a little bit more analytical, more research focused, but I hope I can put it together in a way that's consumable to you. So if you watch this far, holy shit, thank you. And I'm going to stop rambling now. Peace out.